Characters teleporting in later seasons. In the earlier seasons, travel took time, real, dragging, exhausting time. You felt every muddy mile from Winterfell to King's Landing, but by season 7, it's like everyone found a secret cheat code. Euron zips between coasts like he's got jet fuel in his boots. Gendry, a guy with zero cardio training since season 3, somehow runs 60 miles through snow in what feels like a commercial break. And Daenerys? She flies a dragon all the way from Dragonstone to a frozen lake beyond the wall in the time it takes to microwave popcorn. This wasn't subtle. Audiences saw it, critics saw it, Reddit practically exploded over it. Fans started joking that Westeros got its own version of the Hyperloop, or that Bran was secretly teleporting everyone with his weird tree Wi-Fi. But the problem wasn't just speed. It broke the internal logic the show spent years building. The distances used to matter. They made the world feel big and grounded. Suddenly, the world shrank into a tiny board game, where characters jump across the map like it's nothing. The creators tried calling it plausible impossibilities, but that just meant viewers were expected to pretend time didn't exist. Bran becomes king. Bran's supposed superpowers are barely explained, which is pretty wild, considering they use those same powers to justify making him king. He's got green sight, which lets him see into the past and future, and he can warg into animals and people. That all sounds epic, except the show never lays out what he can or can't do. So when he doesn't warn anyone about huge threats, it feels less mysterious and more like lazy writing. Like when Euron takes out Rhaegal, Bran could have said something, but nope. Same with Cersei's whole endgame. Instead, he randomly hands Arya a dagger like he's some mystical vending machine and spills Jon's secret parentage just enough to cause chaos. Then Tyrion stands up and claims Bran's the memory of the realm, like that's some kind of leadership resume. But Bran's basically a sentient tree stump, never shares a plan, never makes a choice. He doesn't do anything, and yet the council just shrugs and says, yeah, why not him? No build-up, no leadership shown, just pure plot convenience. The fans noticed, everyone noticed. If his powers are the reason he gets crowned, then maybe, just maybe, those powers should have been used for something first. Daenerys forgetting about Euron's fleet and losing a dragon. In season 8, Daenerys gets warned, again, that Euron's fleet is out there. Everyone knows it, her advisors say it, the audience knows it, and yet she flies right into an ambush like she's never heard of reconnaissance. The showrunners even admitted she kinda forgot the Iron Fleet existed. That's the actual explanation for why Rhaegal gets obliterated mid-flight. She forgot. The woman who uses dragons as aerial scouts, who's clashed with Euron's ships before, who's lost allies to this exact threat, just forgets? It's a total break from her established tactics. She's been portrayed as sharp, paranoid, and strategic, especially when her dragons are involved. In earlier seasons, she wouldn't take a single step without knowing who was watching, but suddenly she cruises through the sky like it's a sightseeing tour, and Rhaegal gets shot out of the air. Critics were all over this, not because losing Rhaegal wasn't dramatic, it was, but because the way it happened made no sense. There's no plan, no scouting, just a lazy excuse to push her character toward collapse. It wasn't a flaw in her judgment, it was a giant narrative shortcut wrapped in implausible behavior. Feel free to smash that like and subscribe button for more content like this. Anyways, Jon Snow's resurrection having no lasting impact. When Jon Snow came back from the dead, it should have changed everything, but it didn't. The whole thing played out like someone hit a reset button. Melisandre chants, Jon gasps, and then nothing. No new powers, no haunting trauma, no shift in worldview. He just keeps doing what he was doing before he died, like he took a nap and woke up annoyed. He kills some mutineers, walks out of the Night's Watch like quitting a job, and moves on without skipping a beat. Critics pointed out that the moment had no weight. Death used to mean something in the show, but Jon's return felt so inevitable, so smooth it barely made a ripple. The other characters barely react. Davos has more emotion over a loaf of bread. It's as if everyone collectively shrugged and moved on. And that robbed the whole thing of meaning. There was no interchange, no higher cost, no lingering consequence. His death was supposed to be a turning point, instead it became a plot tool to free him from the Watch and shove him into the next storyline. Resurrection became paperwork, not prophecy. Arya's faceless men, training being abandoned. The whole point of the faceless men is to erase your identity completely. But Arya? She literally buries her sword instead of throwing it away. That one move says it all. She never let go of being Arya Stark. She hides it, sure, but she never gives it up. Then she spares Lady Crane, breaks rank, and goes rogue. The waif gets sent to kill her, stabs her multiple times, and somehow Arya shrugs it off like she's made of steel and plot armor. She turns around and kills the waif, then casually strolls back to Jaqen. And here's the kicker. Jaqen just lets her go, smiles even. No punishment, no chase, no consequences. She broke sacred rules, took out one of their own, and quit the cult like she was unsubscribing from an email list. That's it, all done. Critics were all over it, calling it a lazy and boring finish to what could have been a deep, mysterious arc. Jaqen supposedly admired her strength, but the show never explains why that suddenly overrules every rule they ever enforced. Arya walks away from a deadly assassin order like it was summer camp, just another rule tossed for convenience. Euron magically showing up? Starting in season 7, Euron's fleet turns into a seafaring jumpscare. He's suddenly everywhere. He sails from King's Landing to Dorne, kidnaps Yara and Ilaria, sails all the way back to parade them, then somehow makes it around Westeros just in time to ambush the Unsullied at Casterly Rock, without ever missing a beat. It's like his ships are powered by GPS and caffeine. No wind delays, no storms, just flawless entrances. The show never explains how he's doing this. There's no hint of multiple fleets or stand-in commanders, no maps, no travel montages, nothing. One minute he's mugging for the throne room, the next he's ghosting out of sea fog to wreck another fleet. Critics even joked his ships had better teleportation than Littlefinger. And viewers noticed. Fans tried to do the math, break down the timeline, and the only way it works is if you throw out logic entirely. The real issue isn't just the speed, it's the randomness. Westeros used to feel huge, like every journey mattered, but Euron skips that. He's wherever the script needs him to be. No prep, no reason, just surprise villain entrances with no sailing in between. The Unsullied and Dothraki armies magically respawning after near extinction. During the Battle of Winterfell, the Dothraki charge into darkness and vanish in seconds. Their flaming swords snuff out like birthday candles. The Unsullied get overwhelmed defending the retreat. It's chaos, it's brutal, it's annihilation. But fast forward 2 episodes and suddenly Daenerys has fresh legions again. Thousands of Unsullied standing in formation and a full swarm of Dothraki riders charging into King's Landing like nothing happened. Viewers noticed. There's no line, no scene, no hint that reinforcements arrived or troops regrouped. The show never explains how an army that looked 90% dead comes back at full strength in less than a week. Fans called it magical respawning, soldiers spawning back in like a video game glitch. One minute they're gone, the next they're fully geared and ready to go. No camps, no supplies, no survivors crawling out of the shadows, just clean new ranks ready for the final siege. Critics hammered it hard. The stakes from Winterfell collapse when death doesn't matter. An army that can be wiped out and still reappear undercuts the whole idea of sacrifice. There's no logic, just convenient visuals for one last big battle. Bran's powers being mostly wasted after all the buildup. After seasons of mystical hype, creepy visions, and ancient forest training, Bran turns into a human screensaver. He's supposed to be the three-eyed raven, the most powerful psychic figure in Westeros. He can warg into animals, peer through time, and hold centuries of memory. But when the final battles roll around, he just sits. Literally. He parks himself in the Godswood, stares into space, and occasionally drops cryptic sentences like he's role-playing as a glitchy oracle. Critics didn't miss it. The show built Bran up like he'd be the narrative linchpin, someone whose knowledge could rally allies, expose traitors, or outmaneuver enemies. Instead, he offers no strategy, no warnings, no insight beyond telling people things they already know. He doesn't stop Euron, doesn't warn about the Iron Fleet, doesn't even react when the Night King approaches. He just logs out. Even his time travel powers, which could have reshaped the entire war, are barely used. Viewers kept waiting for a moment, any moment, when he'd do something meaningful, but it never comes. After all that buildup, he ends the series as a passive figure with powers that exist purely to remind us what could have been. The Night King, being killed with no explanation of his origin or purpose. After 8 seasons of buildup, the Night King, this silent, undead supervillain, gets stabbed once and vanishes in a puff of ice shards. Viewers finally get a glimpse of his origin way back. The Children of the Forest jammed dragonglass into his chest to stop the First Men. That's it, no follow-up. No clarity on why he turns into the world's most aggressive snowstorm. He starts as a defense mechanism and ends up leading an apocalypse, with zero explanation in between. He never speaks, he never reveals a plan. No scenes showing strategy, philosophy, or even basic communication. He's just this frosty force that walks very slowly and resurrects faster than anyone can react. And when Arya ends him during the Battle of Winterfell, there's no epilogue, no secret history, nothing. Just one quick stab and goodbye to the entire undead threat. Critics pointed out the huge missed opportunity. He wasn't tied into any deeper lore, no connection to the legendary Night's King, no relation to prophecy, no hint of motive. He dies like a video game boss. Big moment, cool scene, no payoff. The arc closes, but the mystery never opens. Cersei turning passive and doing nothing in the final season. After seasons of outmaneuvering rivals, seizing power, and blowing up her enemies with wildfire, Cersei just stops. By the time season 8 rolls around, she's basically wallpaper. She stands at windows, drinks wine, and throws out vague threats, but never actually does anything. The same woman who torched the Sept and manipulated the entire court ends up doing less than her own guards. Reddit noticed, critics noticed, even Lena Headey, who played her, noticed. She literally said she wanted a better death. There's no dramatic confrontation, no ruthless strategy, not even a monologue. Just more wine, a blank stare, and eventually a pile of rocks. It's the definition of anti-climax. Vulture called it a missed opportunity, and they weren't wrong. Cersei had been built up as one of the show's most cunning players, and then suddenly, she's waiting around like she lost the script. No political maneuvering, no scheming, no resistance, just watching it all fall apart until she gets buried under rubble. The critics called it a failure of imagination, and that fits. Her exit didn't reflect her character, it didn't challenge her, it didn't even explain her. It just ended her, quietly and without meaning. Jaime Lannister abandoning his redemption arc. From season 3 through 7, Jaime's arc looked like one of the show's best slow burn transformations. He saved Brienne, admitted to killing the Mad King to stop mass murder, and slowly peeled away from Cersei's shadow. By the time he left her in season 7, it felt earned. He was finally choosing honor, but then season 8 hits, and all that growth gets tossed like it never happened. He turns around and heads straight back to Cersei like none of it mattered. Even the actor behind Jaime said his character was always tied to her, like he couldn't exist without her. But that just makes everything he learned meaningless. Fans called it a betrayal of the entire arc. Years of development got dropped in one ride back to King's Landing, and for what? He doesn't rescue her, doesn't fight for her, doesn't redeem her. They just stand there while the building falls. Jaime doesn't go out a hero. He goes out as the same man who pushed a kid out a window in episode 1. Everything in between, the guilt, the growth, the struggle, gets buried both figuratively and literally, under the Red Keep. Jon's Targaryen heritage having no political or personal consequences. After all the buildup, secret scrolls, and dramatic reveals, Jon being a Targaryen ends up meaning absolutely nothing. He's confirmed as the legitimate son of Rhaegar and Lyanna, technically the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, and no one cares. No lords rise in support, no houses realign, there's no war of succession. Nothing changes except Daenerys getting mad and Jon getting confused. The show drops his lineage right into the middle of Westeros' power struggle, then pretends it's just a personal problem. His true name comes out, and instead of shifting alliances or fueling a political crisis, it just makes dinner conversations more awkward. Even Jon, the supposedly reluctant heir, does nothing with the information. He doesn't push a claim, he doesn't make alliances, and he ends up exiled anyway. Not because of who he is, but because Daenerys went full firestorm. Fans called it out. This wasn't just a reveal without payoff, it was a complete narrative shrug. The writers dangled a massive twist, then never used it. Jon's Targaryen blood ends up as background noise, not a turning point. In a story built on politics, this was pure wasted potential. Tyrion going from brilliant strategist to bad advisor. In the early seasons, Tyrion's genius was subtle and sharp. He outwitted Cersei, navigated court politics, and saved King's Landing with wildfire at Blackwater Bay. He wasn't a general, but he was clever, great with words, plans, and manipulating powerful egos. That was his lane. But by the time Daenerys names him Hand, something short-circuits. Suddenly, he's pitching military strategies like capturing Casterly Rock with a skeleton crew, only for it to get completely overrun. That backfires hard. Then he keeps messing up. His counsel in later seasons is ignored, and for good reason. His advice gets worse. He tries to talk Daenerys out of using dragons, and she barely listens. He tells her to trust Cersei. That goes nowhere. He backs Jon. That also collapses. It's a downhill slide from strategic thinker to guy who says things people don't take seriously anymore. Critics even joked that he went from mastermind to eunuch joke machine. By season 8, his influence is all talk, no results. His warnings are too late, his ideas don't land, and his instincts have vanished. The sharpest man in the room ends up mumbling about bells, while cities burn around him. Daenerys surviving fire selectively depending on plot convenience. Early on, the show makes a big deal out of Daenerys being fireproof. She walks out of Khal Drogo's pyre with dragons and 0 burns. Then again in season 6, she torches the Dothraki temple and strolls out like she's flame-retardant royalty. The showrunner said this confirmed her as unburnt, turning her into a kind of fireproof icon. But after those scenes, that ability pops in and out like a special effect someone forgot to turn off. There's no moment where it's tested, challenged, or explained. One minute she's using it to wipe out her enemies in dramatic fashion. The next, she's in freezing battles or near explosions with no acknowledgement of whether fire would still bounce off her skin. The books treat it like a one-time magical fluke. The show ignores that and leans into the spectacle until it doesn't. There's no rule, no boundary, just visual drama when it fits. Critics flag this fast. Her fire immunity never gets developed, and the show never explores what it means or how it works. It becomes a party trick, invoked only when it's useful, ignored when it's not. It's not power, it's convenience in disguise. Jon not saying goodbye to Ghost in a meaningful way. From season 1, Ghost has been more than just a pet. He's Jon's silent protector, his last link to the Stark identity, and his most loyal companion. But when Jon decides to leave for the south, he sends Ghost north with Tormund like he's passing off a borrowed mule. No hug, no pat, no final look. Just a half sentence and Jon walks away. Fans were livid, years of loyalty, and Jon can't be bothered to scratch his ear. The moment felt cold, especially from a character who's supposed to be defined by loyalty and bonds. It wasn't just a detail, it was a break in emotional logic. Directors later claimed CGI limitations made the scene too complex, but fans didn't want a dragon battle, they wanted a hand on fur. Instead, Ghost gets treated like background furniture. Even the final reunion at Castle Black, where Jon finally gives him a proper pat, doesn't undo the earlier snub. That moment should have happened before the separation, not tacked on like a postscript. The show had a chance for one quiet, perfect beat and skipped it. What should have been a small but powerful goodbye turned into a glaring emotional misfire. Scorpion weapons going from unbeatable to useless. In Season 7, Qyburn unveils the Scorpions, massive dragon-slaying ballistae that actually land a hit on Drogon and later take down Rhaegal in one shot. They're huge, terrifying, and built up as Westeros' best shot at evening the playing field against fire-breathing monsters. They work, they matter, until they don't. By Season 8, Episode 5, Drogon swoops into King's Landing like he's playing on easy mode. Dozens of scorpions are mounted across the city, but not one lands a shot. He flies directly at them, sometimes over them, and nothing happens. Not a scratch, no reloading, no strategy, no threat. It's as if every scorpion operator collectively decided to take a lunch break. Viewers immediately called it out. How do these same weapons go from perfect aim to background props in just one episode? There's no change in design, no mention of sabotage, no tactical explanation, just a full drop in effectiveness. Critics nailed it. These once lethal weapons stop working because the plot needs Drogon to burn the city without resistance. So the scorpions go from dragon killers to decorative sticks, proving once again that consistency took the day off. Feel free to smash that like and subscribe button for more content like this. Gendry being legitimized and then sidelined. In Season 8, Daenerys names Gendry the official Lord of Storm's End, giving him the Baratheon name and a key seat of power. It's framed as a major political move. She's trying to win loyalty from the Stormlands, and Gendry's legitimization seems like a big step toward that. But after that scene, nothing. He's there, but barely. No influence, no command, no Storm's End troops. He doesn't speak during strategy sessions, doesn't factor into any alliances, and isn't consulted for anything meaningful. The show makes him a noble, then turns him back into a background extra. Fans immediately noticed. Reddit joked that the writers forgot he existed, despite just making him one of the last Baratheons left. Even actor Joe Dempsey confirmed that the script poked fun at the disappearance with the stage direction. Run, Gendry, run. That's how self-aware the omission was. There's no reason to elevate him if he's just going to fade out. The legitimization ends up as empty pageantry with no consequences or follow-up. It's a power move with zero power. Gendry gets a title, a castle, and then vanishes from the plot, like someone yanked his narrative offstage mid-sentence. Tyrion and Jon facing no real consequences after betraying Daenerys. Jon kills Daenerys in the Red Keep, stabbing her in what's left of the throne room. Tyrion helps set it all in motion, freeing Jon to act, knowing exactly what the outcome will be. These two commit regicide against the sitting queen, and somehow the fallout is a meeting. No trial, no outcry, no execution, just a council deciding who gets the next big chair. Grey Worm, who watched Daenerys burn cities for lesser slights, just agrees to exile Jon and accept Tyrion as Bran's hand. The same Tyrion he arrested, the same Jon who murdered his queen. No one demands justice, and no one even mentions what Daenerys' followers might want. There's no tribunal, no court, not even a single scene where Westeros pretends to care. Tyrion nominates Bran and ends up promoted. Jon goes to the Wall, which apparently still exists for reasons no one bothers to explain. Critics hammered the finale for this. A show built on consequences just lets two major conspirators off the hook with a shrug. The queen dies, and somehow the only thing on anyone's mind is filling the job vacancy. No reckoning, no justice, just a hard reset. The Lord of Light's grand influence on the world. Early on, the Lord of Light feels like the god behind the curtain. His followers resurrect the dead, conjure visions in fire, and light battlefield. trenches with prayers. Melisandre and Thoros channel him like he's pulling strings for some great cosmic plan, but by the time the show ends, all of that mysticism just fizzles. No signs, no final reveal, and no answers. The prince that was promised, never named. Azor Ahai, forgotten. The flaming sword lightbringer never appears. After years of cryptic prophecies, fire visions, and divine missions, the payoff is silence. Melisandre dies on a battlefield with no explanation. Davos sums it up best. We fight his war and win, and then he fucks off. That's the closest thing to a conclusion we get. The show, once drenched in magic and prophecy, decides to wrap up in pure politics. No reckoning, no divine twist, just unanswered setups. The Lord of Light's influence is treated like a temporary special effect, useful until the plot doesn't need it. What started as a god-guiding destiny ends as a shrug from the writers. Total narrative dropout. Brienne writing Jaime's history after he emotionally crushed her. Because nothing says personal growth like documenting the legacy of the guy who ghosted you to go die under a pile of rocks with his toxic twin. In the finale, Brienne flips to Jaime's Kingsguard page and fills in his missing deeds. Noble ones, yes, but it's hard not to notice the sheer emotional gymnastics she performs. She reframes his desertion as heroism. Died protecting his queen. That's a poetic spin for ran back to Cersei like a human boomerang. And the kicker? This happens after Jaime tells her he's a hateful man, sleeps with her, and leaves without so much as a sorry or an I'm complicated. Fans were split. Some thought the scene was a full circle moment, Brienne honoring Jaime as he asked. Others saw it as the writers throwing Brienne's growth into the compost bin to tie a neat bow on his legacy, not hers. Hers ends with carefully romanticizing the exit wounds left by a man she loved, who couldn't love her back properly. It's noble, sure, but it's also tragic. Because after seasons of Brienne carving out her own place in a man's world, she closes her arc by quite literally writing someone else's story, like an emotional historian with Stockholm Syndrome. Arya's White Horse. At the end of episode 5, Arya staggers through the ruins of King's Landing, bloodied and dazed. Then she sees it, a pristine white horse standing untouched in the wreckage. The music swells, the camera lingers. It's a clear setup for something big or symbolic. Rebirth, death, a divine sign, maybe even a twist in her arc. But then, nothing. The next episode opens and the horse is never mentioned again. Arya's not on a quest, not changed by the vision, not even interested in the horse. She shows up at the council meeting looking the same, acting the same, and makes a one-sentence decision to leave Westeros entirely. The white horse? Gone. Off-screen. Irrelevant. Fans and critics immediately flag the moment as empty symbolism, set up to mean something profound, but never followed through. The showrunners framed it like a poetic image, but with no resolution, it lands more like a visual red herring. Arya's journey continues, but the White Horse becomes just another dropped thread. What looked like the beginning of meaning turned out to be nothing but pretty framing, and then silence. The prophecy of Azor Ahai abandoned. Starting in season 2, Melisandre lays it out. A hero will rise from salt and smoke, wielding a flaming sword called Lightbringer, and defeat the darkness. It's treated as gospel. Red priests travel across continents preaching it. Stannis is crowned the chosen one. Then Jon gets hinted. Then Daenerys. The show flirts with each of them like it's about to commit, but never does. And then Arya kills the Night King, out of nowhere. No flaming sword, no prophecy cues, no signs of divine selection. The entire setup just vanishes. The story gives no answer to who Azor Ahai is, or if the prophecy mattered at all. By the finale, nobody even mentions it, not once. The most famous mystical prediction in Westeros gets the silent treatment. Critics slammed it. Years of setup led nowhere. Characters who were crafted around fulfilling this destiny get tossed into unrelated roles. There's no payoff, no named hero, no Lightbringer, just a giant supernatural riddle with no solution. What was supposed to be the magical endgame becomes a shrug. The prophecy doesn't come true, it just disappears. The entire Dornish subplot being dropped? In season 5, the show suddenly decides Dorne matters. New setting, new prince, new vengeance arc. They roll out Prince Doran, Illyria Sand, and the Sand Snakes like it's about to be a whole political chess match. But instead of intrigue, what the audience gets is clunky dialogue, one-note characters, and weaponized melodrama. Illyria turns into a vengeance machine, and the Sand Snakes are mostly just there to pose dramatically and stab things. Critics and fans tore into it. The characters felt shallow, the stakes felt forced, and nothing ever really landed. Doran, who's supposed to be this quiet strategist, spends most of his time sitting, then suddenly, dead. Trystane, dead. Sand Snakes, dead. And just like that, Dorne disappears. No revenge, no reaction, no ripple effects. Jaime's trip there ends up being more about screen time than story. By the next season, it's like Dorne never existed. No mention of alliances, no political fallout, no acknowledgement that a major region just imploded. The whole arc starts with fanfare and ends in silence. It's not just a dropped thread, it's a subplot that got erased mid-sentence, leaving nothing but empty setup behind. Sam stealing House Tarly's sword, Heartsbane, a massive Valyrian steel sword passed down through House Tarly for generations, just walks out the front door with Sam, and nobody says a word. He takes it during his quiet escape with Jilly and the baby, right after his father Randall makes it very clear he hates Sam's existence. This is the same Randall who nearly chokes on his own pride at the thought of Sam inheriting anything, and yet, the guy doesn't even blink when his family's most prized weapon disappears. Fans flag this fast. It's not just a missing butter knife, this thing is rare, valuable, and literally designed to kill White Walkers, but the show never revisits it. No Tarly men show up demanding it back, no letter arrives at Winterfell, there's no guilt, no questions, nothing. Sam carries around the sword like it's a backpack and everyone just accepts it. The community tried filling the gaps, maybe Randall noticed but didn't care, maybe Sam earned it in spirit, but none of that's in the actual show. The writers just dropped the whole thread, so Sam steals a priceless artifact, shows up to war with it, and somehow walks away as a hero with no fallout. Congrats on making it to the end. If you like this video, please show your support by smashing that like and subscribe button.